Wow, it's amazing to see how fast robotics is moving forward, especially in this really interesting area of biohybrid robots. We're going to spend the next few minutes doing a deep dive into a revolutionary new way to make them stronger and more agile. It's a co-stimulation method that's really pushing the boundaries of what these robots can do. We'll look at how this training for artificial muscles works, drawing from articles we've seen, including some great stuff from Le Podcast de Philippe, and we'll explore what this could mean for the future of robotics.
It is exciting.
If you're finding these insights helpful, please subscribe to Le Podcast de Philippe on YouTube. We're hoping to reach 1,000 subscribers today.
That would be fantastic.
Today's focus is on some impressive new developments in biohybrid robots. We're going to talk about how they're being trained using a new electromechanical co-stimulation system. And this is leading to huge improvements in their performance.
Oh, absolutely.
We came across this in a couple of articles. One was titled Les robots transpirent comme des humains, and another that we've been referring to. This new system seems to be a real game changer in the field.
It is. It really is.
So what makes it so important?
Well, the really interesting part is the co-stimulation system developed by Chuang Zhang's team.
Okay.
They published their research in Advanced Functional Materials.
I know that journal. It's a top publication for materials science.
Yes, it is. And their work shows a very clever combination of electrical fields and something called dynamic mechanical resistance.
A two-pronged approach.
Exactly. And this is proving to be crucial in allowing these biohybrid robots to reach a level of agility that's much closer to what we see in living things.
So can you break down this dual stimulation a little more for us? It involves electrodes, right?
Yes, that's right.
And they send a constant electrical signal to trigger muscle contractions in these biohybrid creations.
Precisely. The uniform electrical stimulation is the initial trigger for the muscle to activate.
Okay.
But what's really innovative is that they're also applying adjustable resistance using a spring mechanism at the same time.
I see.
It's like, imagine a weightlifter lifting a weight. They encounter resistance. The spring provides a similar opposing force, but in real time. It's basically mirroring the principles of resistance training that we see in human athletes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
So it's not just passively making the artificial muscle twitch. You're actively challenging it, forcing it to work against a dynamic load.
That's right.
Like how our muscles adapt and get stronger when we exercise.
Exactly. This real-time adaptable resistance does two really important things.
Okay.
First, it speeds up the development and strengthening the maturation of those biological tissues that make up the artificial muscles.
Right.
And second, it gives you a very accurate and immediate way to measure the force the muscle is generating.
It's constantly measuring.
Right. It's like a continuous feedback loop. And that's crucial for fine-tuning the whole training process.
That makes a lot of sense. And from what I've read, this more advanced training method is showing some pretty incredible results in what these robots are capable of.
It is. It's quite impressive.
The articles pointed to some pretty significant improvements in performance.
Yes, they did. The data shows a remarkable increase in contraction force, almost 98% higher compared to the old ways of stimulating these artificial muscles.
Almost double the force.
Almost double. And that's not just a small improvement.
No.
It suggests that we're understanding something much more fundamental about how these artificial muscles can work.
I see.
Potentially mimicking the complexity of biological tissues in a way that we haven't been able to do before. And on top of that, the Caterpillar-inspired robot they developed achieved a speed of 2.38 millimeters per second.
That's pretty fast for a robot like that, isn't it?
Much faster than earlier models.
Yeah. So almost double the force and significantly faster.
Right.
That really highlights how effective this combined stimulation approach is.
It really does. And the benefits go beyond just speed and strength.
Okay.
We're also seeing improvements in their robustness and responsiveness.
Their overall performance.
Yes. This enhanced performance allows these robots to handle a much wider range of complex movements and adapt to different and even challenging environments much more effectively.
So thinking about the bigger picture, what are some of the major possibilities that could come out of this advancement in biohybrid robotics? What could this lead to?
One of the most exciting prospects is the development of self-healing robots.
Self-healing.
Yes. By using biological tissues, these robots could have the ability to repair themselves. Imagine robots that can fix themselves in places where it would be too dangerous for humans to go.
That's a fascinating idea. A robot with a kind of biological resilience.
Exactly.
What other doors could this open?
Well, we're also looking at the potential for these robots to interact with their surroundings in a much more intuitive way.
How so?
By combining the natural sensing abilities of biological materials with the power of computer processing, these robots could perceive and respond to their environments in much more subtle and nuanced ways.
So they wouldn't just detect a change in temperature, but also understand what that change means in a specific context.
Exactly. It's a much richer and more adaptive kind of interaction than we see in most robots today.
It is. And the articles we read also pointed to specific areas where this technology could be particularly helpful.
Yes, they do.
Things like assisted surgery.
Right, where the flexibility and precise control of biological components would be really valuable, especially for minimally invasive procedures.
Right, makes sense.
And then there's underwater exploration, where the ability to adapt to complex and unpredictable environments is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a big change from those stiff, purely mechanical robots that we often think of.
It really is.
So how is this new way of making artificial muscles move, this co-stimulation method, really different from the traditional approaches?
It represents a fundamental shift in how we approach muscle stimulation in robotics.
Okay.
Older methods often relied on either electrical stimulation alone, kind of like those basic electrical muscle stimulation devices you can buy,
Right.
or purely mechanical stimulation.
I see.
This new co-stimulation system is groundbreaking because it combines both of these in a dynamic and synchronized way.
So the old approaches were kind of one-dimensional.
You could say that.
It was either an electrical jolt or a static mechanical force.
Right.
But this new method is much more integrated and responsive.
Exactly. Traditional electrical stimulation often works with preset parameters, whereas the co-stimulation system can intelligently adjust the mechanical resistance based on what the artificial muscle is doing in real time.
Well, that's a big difference.
It is. And while some older electrical methods might target only specific groups of muscle fibers, this co-stimulation seems to activate the entire muscle tissue more comprehensively,
That's interesting.
potentially leading to more coordinated and ultimately more powerful contractions.
So it's like getting the whole artificial muscle to work together more effectively?
Yes, that's the idea.
So how does this dual and dynamic approach actually solve some of the problems we saw with those older methods?
One of the key advantages is that it could reduce muscle fatigue.
Really?
By applying a carefully calculated mechanical load at the same time, the system can prevent the overexcitability that often happens with purely electrical stimulation.
Okay.
That overexcitability often leads to the muscle getting tired very quickly.
Right.
It's like giving the muscle a more balanced and sustainable workout.
So it's not just about making it stronger in the short term, it's about improving its endurance too.
Precisely. Another important benefit is the potential for better movement coordination.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional functional electrical stimulation might activate individual muscles in a somewhat isolated way,
I see.
whereas this co-stimulation approach seems to promote more natural and fluid movement patterns.
Interesting.
And when we look at the overall power output, the speed they achieve, 2.38 millimeters, is actually higher than the maximum power gains you usually see with conventional electrical muscle stimulation alone.
Okay, so not only is it more efficient and less fatiguing, but it's also demonstrably more powerful.
It is.
Now, moving beyond robotics itself, are there other areas where this co-stimulation technology could have a significant impact?
What's really exciting is the potential in areas like dynamic rehabilitation. Imagine combining real-time electrical biofeedback with precisely controlled, progressively increasing resistance. This could help patients recover muscle function much more effectively than with traditional methods.
That makes sense.
The research also suggested that it could speed up the development of engineered tissues in the lab,
Oh, wow.
potentially making them mature more than twice as fast as conventional methods.
That's amazing.
And they're even exploring how to use it to prevent muscle atrophy by stimulating blood flow.
That's a remarkable range of potential applications.
It is, isn't it?
From helping patients recover to advancing tissue engineering.
Yes.
But while all this progress sounds very promising, the articles also mention some of the challenges that still need to be addressed before this technology can become widely used.
Of course, this is still a relatively new technology.
Right.
And one of the main challenges is that it's more complex than the simple electrical muscle stimulation devices that are readily available to consumers.
Those are pretty basic, and I know they're not very expensive.
That's right. They typically fall within a certain price range, but this co-stimulation system is a much bigger step forward in terms of sophistication.
And that probably means higher costs to start with and needing specialized knowledge to actually use the technology.
Exactly. Another important thing to consider is that the co-stimulation parameters need to be fine-tuned for different types of muscles and tissues.
Ah, that makes sense.
Just like in our own bodies, what works best for one muscle might not be ideal for another.
Right, of course.
So figuring out these specific protocols will be crucial for using this technology more broadly.
But even with these challenges, the advancements in this field are pretty impressive,
They really are.
as we said at the beginning.
Yes. The progress in improving the strength and agility of these biohybrid robots through this innovative co-stimulation method is a really significant step forward.
Absolutely. So to wrap up our deep dive, it seems like this co-stimulation breakthrough is a major leap towards creating much more capable biohybrid robots that could be used for all sorts of things.
It is. It's very promising.
Considering these advancements, what kind of tasks do you imagine these robots will be able to perform in the future that we never thought possible before?
I think we'll see them doing tasks that require very fine motor control and the ability to adapt to unpredictable situations, maybe even navigating inside the human body for delicate medical procedures or exploring the deep sea with a level of dexterity that we've never seen before.
The possibilities are really wide open.
They are.
And what are the next big steps for researchers in this exciting field?
The articles talked about integrating three-dimensional neural networks as a crucial next step.
Three-dimensional neural networks.
Yes. The goal is to achieve an even greater level of control over these biohybrid systems, ultimately trying to replicate the complex sensor-motor intelligence we see in nature.
So going beyond just controlling the muscles to incorporating more advanced sensing and decision-making abilities.
Exactly.
That's a big challenge.
It is. And as we continue to combine living and synthetic components in these increasingly sophisticated ways, it really makes us think about how technology is evolving and what its impact might be.
It does. If you found this deep dive into biohybrid robotics fascinating, please consider subscribing to Le Podcast de Philippe on YouTube today. Your support helps us to bring you more in-depth explorations like this.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.